You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss the Bulls officially filing for the disabled player exception for Lonzo Ball, Jevon Carter signing with the team, and re-signing Coby White and Nikola Vucevic. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central podcast and YouTube pages. Pat, the Bulls had a fairly active weekend, more active than I was expecting. It completely died down after the Jevon Carter signing pretty much. But let's start off with kind of the most recent news. Like, we got word yesterday that the Bulls have now officially filed for the disabled player exception on Lonzo Ball's contract. For anyone who does not know what that means, that gives the Bulls an additional exception worth half of Lonzo Ball's contract, which is going to be $10.1 million. They can use that to either sign a free agent or trade for a player in the last year of their contract. Pat, what do you think about the Bulls actually making this move? This would signify them paying, if they use this exception, they will be paying the luxury tax. There's nowhere else around that. How do you feel about it, Pat?
Just very confusing. I feel like AK lied to us for the first time in that press conference because he said basically that like they weren't going to use this on Lonzo. He also said that they weren't going to go into the luxury tax because Michael has told them that 4 to 6 is the luxury tax range, even though now this is the tax. And like, I don't like you playing with my emotions here, but I feel like it's a move that'll help the Bulls get better. And I think that's here's the thing. And this is the part that when we get to the Jevon Carter part that a lot of Bulls will break down in more depth, but the Bulls made a move to try and make the pieces that they currently have on their team better based on what we saw in the second half of last season. I think that they've kind of done that with going out and signing a guy like Carter, but there's always going to be this looming contract over your head that is going to affect your team in the long run, no matter what. That's the Lonzo Ball deal. By making this move, and I think that this will be something that the NBA probably gets done pretty quickly. I don't know if y'all remember when Klay Thompson went down, but they basically filed it on like the 20th of November. It was approved on the 25th.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's dragging out. It's basically something that, like, if I could look at this dude who hasn't played in 2 years and go, he's probably not going to play next season, then I'm basically just going to give you the exception. To me, this is the Bulls saying that, listen, the where we were and just not improving anything for our team is not going to be acceptable. And I like that. I like that did they go out and make the big splashes this offseason? No, but to me, they've done the small tweaks that I think the people who watch the game the closest have asked for. We've asked for them to shoot more threes. They go out and get a shooting coach who's supposed to be coming in to change the shooting philosophy. We've asked for them to make a move on Lonzo's deal. They've done things like that. So to me, 8K has had a pretty good, Acme as a whole has had a pretty good start to free agency, start to this offseason. I can't be mad at what we've seen here, and I think that it'll be interesting. I'll ask you this, right? Like, you dropped the video over on Chicago Bulls Central, which is absolutely eating right now. Who are some of the players that you think the Bulls are realistically in line to go get if or when? I think this is a when, not an if, when this finally comes through, like the realistic names.
So in free agent, I have 2 in each, 2 trade targets, 2 free agent targets. In free agency, I think Mo Bamba, PJ Washington are very realistic. I think when you look at what the Hornets have done, bringing back Miles Bridges, drafting Brandon Miller, they also made an additional signing today, all kind of points towards maybe they'll match PJ Washington, but more than likely they're probably going to let him go. So I like him there. I think Mo Bamba is also an option out there on the free agent market as well, coming off a deal for him. Now you may not have to use the disabled player exception. You may use the rest of your mid-level exception to get him, depending on what the realistic things are. But then also, I think it gets a little bit more interesting when you look at players that are in the last year of their deal that you can trade for. Danilo Gallinari was just traded to the Washington Wizards. He could be moved again. We know that AK tried to get him before. One thing we've seen with AK is that if he has you labeled as one of his guys, he tries to get you eventually. So Danilo could be one. I think Thad Young is another one. Another possibility is that Toronto Raptors team looks to change some things out. So I really kind of think, something around those. And do not look out the outside chance. Grant Williams may be a possibility there as well. That's what it was. The Charlotte Hornets, actually, there's rumors that they're interested in Grant Williams, which if they do, it all but signals they're not matching anything for PJ Washington.
Or PJ.
So if you can get either PJ or Grant Williams, I know they're not perfect players. They're not the 20 and 10. I know some Bulls fans just think superstars, but I think when you look at what they could bring for the team, I kind of like it.
I just think, to me, PJ's a name that, PJ always reminds me of that guy that, P. Will. He reminds me of P. Will. I can see all the potential in the world in you. And granted, he's gotten to a further point, right? I think it was 15 points a game last season or something like that. But I never see a completed game from him. I guess the same could be said about Mo Bamba. You've literally seen one half of him versus Joel Embiid. Muggs have crowned him the next superstar big man that needs to be signed on every team, and yet he never gets any minutes. I don't know. I'm not mad at any of those names. I think that Thad is probably, if you're going to trade for a guy, to me, Thad would be the one that I would want to get in, because I know everybody keeps saying Jevon Carter is going to be this leader, but he didn't have that much leading to do on that team. you had Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Giannis, and Chris Middleton when he's there. There wasn't much leading Jevon Carter had to do. So I think that leadership is still needed, and I think Thad Young is a guy that can go out and get that. Even though I don't know, in my mind, Thad's 100, but I know he's not that old.
I don't know how old Thad Young is off the top of my head. Just real quick search, 35 years old. That's tough.
Never mind. I might have to take that one back.
The thing with that concerns me is that Thad has gotten worse every year since he's left us.
Oh yeah.
So and he hasn't played more than 30 games since he left us, bro.
Yeah.
So
I might have to recant that.
Let me take that back. He played 54 last season, but I don't know, man. I like that as far as I know what he brings mentality wise. I know he has chemistry. I know he's been here before. I know all those things, but if we're talking about getting the most help on the basketball court, he only gets paid $9.5 million, but I won't lie and say that I'm not a little concerned if he's going to be able to give us something that we need.
Here's the thing that I said. I don't know what it'll end up being at the end of it, but to me, the fact that we're putting ourselves in a position to be successful is something that we didn't expect. We expected, me and you both expected, I don't know if we expected Jevon Carter, but we expected some kind of signing like this, right? A smaller money deal that gets the Bulls a player that fits a specific need. I didn't expect the Bulls to be positioning themselves in the draft. I didn't expect the Bulls to be positioning themselves in trade talks. By the way, anybody else scared by amateur analysts when he just dropped Zach LaVine and then went ghost for 6 hours, bro?
That was hilarious, bro. Outside the box possibility. I don't think we've talked about this. Well, I know we haven't because we just had the conversation. We talked about Urlap Bitsum before. Could the Bulls use now that exception and bring him over?
That's an interesting one. I wouldn't be mad at that.
We've seen Vasilije Micic actually sign a nice deal with the Orlando Magic. I mean, not the Orlando Magic, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder. How old is he?
Vasilije Micic?
I feel like he's not young.
No, Micic, if I'm not mistaken, he's 27, I think.
29, bro.
He's 29.
I was gonna say, I feel like he's kind of coming over here on the
to finally get his money
on the Arvydas Sabonis deal. You know what I mean? He's not as old, but I feel like he's coming over here on the hey, bro, I just want to spend some time in the NBA because I got nothing else to do.
That I did. I mean, we're seeing players play until 36, 37 years old. So it's not like his game's hugely based off athleticism. He could come in and play maybe a 6-7 year stretch in the NBA.
I'm going to be salty. You know what the tough part about this is? I'm sitting here talking about this man like he over the hill. He was born the same Years I was. And they don't got the date and month, but that's tough. My knees.
All right.
My
But
knees.
next up, we're going to talk about that Jevon Carter signing and how we see him fitting in on this team. Because I think we differ on that a little bit, but I think we're both pretty high on that. We're going to talk about that next. But before we do that, got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. You guys should definitely check this out. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they're going to score more or less than the PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, which my Chicago Sky are killing it again, esports, NASCAR, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. It came in hot again. Like the intro music comes in hot every once in a while.
Every now and then, bro. Every now and then.
Hey, maybe it's excited about the Bulls offseason as well. I wanted to get to it. With that said, Pat, Jevon Carter, we signed Jevon Carter on a 3-year, $20 million deal. This has been labeled as one of the better value contracts given out so far. There's been some Bulls fans up and down on it. Like, yeah, Bulls fans, they wanted D'Angelo Russell. They wanted a lot of these point guards, especially when Russell Westbrook signs for 2 years, $8 million. It starts raising some questions. But Jevon Carter brings a dog mentality, defense, high-level three-point, high accuracy three-point shooting. Takes about 4 of them a game, hits them at almost 30% clip. I can see his fit in there with the Bulls starting lineup. How do you feel about the Jevon Carter signing, Pat?
It's a good signing. If you're a Bulls fan and you're mad about Jevon Carter signing with the Chicago Bulls, you just want to be upset. It's a good signing. Like, it's not oh, wow, this is the premier free agent that the Bulls could have gotten this year. No. But it's a signing that addresses a need. And we came into this offseason saying, just get me something better than Pat Bev. And all of a sudden, Zach LaVine looks like he can play. Guess what? He's better than Pat Bev in a couple of different areas, including the three-point shooting. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to be this elite facilitator, but I would love to see y'all come on here and tell me that Pat Bev is. Yeah, I mean, like, he's a guy that's going to be able to go out there and run the system and allow guys to play their position. I don't know if I see him as a starter just yet. I think that they might still run with Coby. But I wouldn't be mad at seeing him as a starter. And at the end of the day, you got him for $6 million a year, basically. And that's a steal of a deal for a guy who shoots above 40% from 3. And it's not like he's not taking them. He's taking 4 3-pointers a game in an offense that's not very predicated on a 3-point shot up in Milwaukee, and he's knocking it down at a 40% clip. You can't really be mad at that to me.
And that's how I feel too. Like, I look at this signing and it brings a lot. And to your point, like, the reason why I do see Jevon as the starter is strictly because one of the things that Coby does best is when he has the ball and everything can go through him. That's not going to happen. He's not going to get that many shots on in the starting lineup. Coby can get more coming off the bench, but then, we'll worry about that once preseason stuff starts. Yeah. I look at Jevon Carter as coming in, being able to do a lot. And when you pair that with the news also that Nikola Vucevic said, one of the things that he talked about before he resigned was how he's used in the offense. And I think when you bring in another high-level three-point shooter, it's going to put Vooch more naturally back in where he needs to be. That is in the post, high post to low post, pick and rolls, those type of things. And I think that that's going to be. Do you think? Well, I'll wait to ask this question until we get into the Vooch re-signing. But overall, with Jevon Carter, one of the best point of attack defenders in the league, bro, according to analytics. And so we need defense in that starting lineup as well. We need it on the team, and so I really like that. And you look at now being able to have him, Alex Caruso, God forbid if Ayo comes back and he gets back to being that defensive dog again, we go back to being one of the better point guard defending teams in the NBA.
Well, and I think here's the conversation that you have to have with it as well, right? When when you look at a Jevon Carter, he's a guy who the more time he's got, the more tick he's got, the better player he's been.
Yeah.
Right. It hasn't been so much of a this guy can't play or this guy can't do this, so we're going to limit his role. It's been more of a we just haven't needed him to, right? He comes onto a team with Drew Holiday. Before that, he's on the 21-22 Nets. Backing up, I believe that would be Kyrie Irving at that point. That's the first year of Kyrie Irving. He's backing up Kyrie Irving. Before that, he's on the Suns in 2020. Suns in 2020 is
that's still campaigning Chris Paul.
No, that's not. That's Eric Bledsoe at that
that's
point.
That's
right?
Eric Bledsoe?
That might have been Eric Bledsoe. 2020, 21. When did they go to the finals? Or is that 1920? They went to the final. One of them. But either way, right? Like there's been guys ahead of him who you just weren't going to move out of his way. Now I think he gets a clear-cut opportunity. Ooh, that looked gross how you looked at the screen on that.
No, it's bright. It's bright.
It came in strong. Yeah, everything's coming in strong over there, dog. The soundboard.
2021 is the year that Chris Paul first went to the Suns. So that would have been he would have been far down that depth chart at that point.
So I mean, you're talking about a guy who's now going to get the opportunity to get more of a role. I think he's going to take advantage of it. Does that mean that I think that he's going to be 20 points a game? No, he's going to be. He probably goes from 8 points a game to 12 points a game.
Yeah,
42% from three,
and that's exactly what we need. 3-4 assists, right? And especially like that's what we need, and so. I really like the addition, man. And I looked at that Jevon Carter signing, and initially the moment that I saw it, I was like, they got there, and he signed he was projected, according to, I think it was John Hollinger did projections, which he's been pretty good at. I believe it was Hollinger. So I'm sure somebody's going to correct me in the comments, but he was projected to get anywhere between $8 and $9 million. We got him at 6.5 per season. Yeah. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, no, I think that this was a good move by AK. This was a move. It's what we said right before all of this went down. The Bulls have talent. Second half of the season showed you that. How the Bulls played with Lonzo showed you that. You just have to have that piece that puts the talent in the right places.
Yeah,
Jevon Carter is a key of that. He's a piece of that.
Yeah, and probably the closest thing to actually simulating a lot of what Lonzo did. Keep in mind, what did Lonzo do? Play great defense and hit 40% from everywhere, but was very effective from three-point shooting. Is he the versatile defender that Lonzo was? Heck no. Lonzo was guarding fours, and I remember seeing Lonzo switched on Jokic at a point, and I was like, "Hey man, get that man off of him." And he actually played pretty good.
He did a good job. I remember that.
I was amazed. So no, he's not going to do that, especially now as being 6'1", I think is what he is.
6'1".
He's going to be a dog. He's going to be able to play, guard ones and twos in the NBA. And I like the signing a lot. I can see that fit being seamless there. And I just hope that Billy Donovan uses him correctly. So
and we talk about this in the NBA a lot. The sexy signing isn't always the signing that has the most impact. Right, going out and signing the D-Los, going out and signing like D-Lo would have been a fine name to sign, but literally you can't tell me how he makes Zach LaVine better because D-Lo's a scorer. D-Lo wants to score the ball. He's a shooter. Like, yes, it addresses the shooting issue, but it doesn't really address the, hey, Zach LaVine needs to be put in certain positions to be like, he's not this great facilitator. He's okay, but he's not this great facilitator. Russ, to me, is an interesting argument to have, but I think the fact that we saw Russ take $8 million means that he wants to stay in the West Coast.
And I think that he took $8 million because he wanted to stay. Like, keep in mind, Russ on Lakers, Russ on Clippers, night and day, right? And I think that he plays with that team, and we have our doubts about them being able to stay healthy, but the fact of the matter still remains with that Clippers team. If they can stay healthy, they are a championship contender.
They are the NBA all-injury team. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just waiting for the time where you might as well, like, if Anthony Davis ever makes his way over there, bro, they literally are the all-injury team. They
signed Derrick Rose for the bench.
There you go, bro. Over under 25 injuries in the first month of the season. That's what we're talking about.
Over under 25 games played by the first 8 players off of the bench.
Crazy, bro. Crazy. But yeah, really like the signing, man. And before we go and we get into the next segment, I'm going to ask you this. I know you kind of already said it, right? Regardless of who starts it, by the end of the season, is Jevon Carter the starting point guard, or is Coby White the starting point guard?
I'll give the edge to Jevon because he's a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that the Bulls would want Coby to kind of take that mantle at some point, or just to be more involved, maybe just even being more involved in the team as a whole, right?
Yeah,
Offense and stuff like
sure.
that. But
yeah,
you re-signed Coby for a reason. Again, he's not Vinny Johnson. He's not the microwave off of the bench, right? Like sometimes he gets hot, but like Vinny Johnson got hot a lot. That's why he was the microwave.
Yeah, it's Vinny Johnson's different. That's a different. That's a different animal completely, bro. Like
but that's what people want Coby to be. There, like he could be our microwave. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, not.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that I think with Coby now is like the thought and the dream of him being the microwave off the bench has gone away. But like what he showed last year is impacting the game defensively, getting other players involved with his passing now, his ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. Want to see him finish at the rim a little bit better. But like those things are more impactful to an overall basketball game than just being able to put up 15 quick every single game. Like he's developed things in this game now that can make him a more impactful overall player. And I like that. I do want to see the scoring come along more how it was on the back end of the season than the beginning of the season. Yeah. But I think if you can merge those two, you got to, it doesn't matter. Starting, coming off the bench, at that point, it don't matter. You got a hell of a player in Coby White.
Yeah, I listen, I love it. I think that it's going to be a good setup for the Bulls. And I think that, to me, Jevon Carter probably has the edge just because of the fact that he is already a point guard, right? We still are like, what is Coby?
He's just a baller, bro. At this point, he's just a baller.
He just plays basketball.
He just plays basketball. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about the re-signing of Coby White and Nikola Vucevic. But I do want to remind you guys that we are free and available on every podcasting platform of your choice, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. So make sure you guys check us out there.
Yeah.
All right, Pat. So we re-signed two of the bigger free agents, the biggest free agents on this team. Nikola Vucevic got a 3-year, $60 million deal. I remember it's been so long since I looked at the deal. It's crazy. $60 million deal. Coby White re-signs for 3 years, $33 million with $7 million of incentives that could push that contract to $40 million overall. All 3 years are guaranteed for both those players as well. What do you make of those deals, brother?
Vooch deal, I told y'all, it's a necessary deal. The Coby deal, I like it, that value. It's not bad money for Coby White. And to me, when I look at both of them, they are setup pieces, right? Like I think this is going to be a year here of serious evaluation because of how many things can change for the Bulls. These are both very team-friendly deals. So I think the thing that I said when free agency went down and all of that was, just because there is an agreement in place doesn't mean that you should get too attached to these mugs. Doesn't mean that they're going to be here for the full 3 years. Doesn't mean that they're going to ride it out with these guys for the full 3 years. But there is a belief that, okay, in year 3 of this, we should have all of the kinks worked out on all the players that we have on this team already. Yeah. We're going to add in a point guard player who basically is Pat Bev, but he can shoot better. That's going to help the team in some kind of way. We're adding in some more young talent on this team, bringing some guys in. Got the undrafted talent, Adama Sanago. But now is the time to say, okay, how does the big three work after 3 years of playing them together? Big three. How does the big three work after 3 years of medium three? Yeah. Regular size 3. How does it work after 3 years of playing together? And by adding in a point guard at the beginning of the season that is actually a point guard, is that going to change how this team comes out and is able to play? All of those questions will be answered by the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I think that one way or the other, there could still be some movement within these. And I think, again, I have to give AK credit. He positioned these contracts in a way that you can absolutely move these guys. Like, if you want to keep them, keep them. I'd love for him to cook. Yeah. But he positioned himself in a way that you can absolutely move these guys.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at everything is easy, like everything that we signed so far, easily tradable contracts. Coby White coming in at $11 million per year, basically. That's easily movable. That's below the mid-level exception. You can move that every day. Look at Nikola Vucevic's contract. Yeah, I think the first year is 18.6 million, but like even at the tail end of that, when it's almost 24 million in the last year, that's still a very movable contract, especially when you look at the way that the salary cap's going to continue to increase. AK's done a really good job, I think, at the way that he's worked out these deals. And I think it's shown a level of focus and future projecting from him as well. And he's left himself a lot of flexibility. You had to re-sign Nikola Vucevic. I even would say you had to re-sign Coby White when you look at just the assets that we had. We weren't in a place to easily replace them. And I think some fans also miss out on the fact that the NBA salary structure does not work in which you re-sign Nikola Vucevic for 18 million, but if he walks away, you have that 18 million to spend on somebody else. Yeah. That is not how it works. So because of that, the best you can do at that point, maintain your assets, maintain your flexibility, bring who you can back, and then let's see how it plays out. Now, I'm going to ask you something. We have some remaining free agents: Derrick Jones Jr., Ayo Dosunmu, Javonte Green. Out of those three, do you see any of them coming back?
No.
None of them.
I don't. What's your role for Ayo now?
I think he'll fall back into the role that he initially had his rookie year. Come in and defend. And when we can play you more minutes depending on how you defend.
I mean, the qualifying offer's out there for Ayo. It's up to him if he wants to take it. I can't imagine there's a bunch of deals that are better for him. But I think there's also probably that part of Ayo where he's like, maybe I'll take less of a deal right now to go somewhere and play. But maybe he wants to be at home. I just think that, he got his opportunity to shine last year, didn't take advantage of it. And now, we're viewing him as the backup point guard yet again, maybe even a backup just rotating guard that literally just turns into a Javonte Green type of player. I don't know if he wants that to be his career. It probably would be better for him to be able to go somewhere else to show it if he does it, but maybe he's the guy that doesn't come back. Javonte, we got to get size. Javante's I love Javonte, but he's just a 6'4" roster spot right now.
See, the thing with I love Javonte, and he brings that dog mentality, but the only reason why I'm big on Javonte not coming back is because I just rather those minutes that development time go to Dalen Terry.
Give it to Dalen.
Yeah.
Go get somebody who's going to provide some size. I'd rather see that. And I think DJ, I think DJJ's got to be gone, right? Like, he had to know that there were better deals available.
I mean,
even we talked about, like, man, DJJ gonna take that little money. I feel like he can get more money out here than that.
I mean, but see, that's the thing is, I thought DJJ was probably going to get more the year that he did re-sign with us. Maybe this is ability, like, I don't know. Like, maybe this is a calculated risk to where maybe the Bulls do strike out on adding size, and DJJ just sitting there like, well, hey, I was going to get 3.3. You got 5 for me now? Bet I'm back.
But see, even then, in that situation, why'd you draft Julian Phillips? Again, second round pick, very different, but he's literally DJJ.
With younger and way more upside. So, I mean, and listen, when you're a team that is even with the disabled player, and that's another thing I didn't point out. The disabled player exception can't be split between multiple players like a mid-level exception can, meaning you got one player you can spend that $10.1 million on. And because of that, like, I think when you don't have a lot of assets that you can spread out, like, that Julian Phillips contract is going to be a value contract, and God forbid Julian Phillips could be the forward version of what Ayo gave you, meaning in his rookie year, he comes in and he's just a defensive dog, and don't let him get out in transition because he's going to yam it on some people.
Yeah,
so
I mean that could be what this thing ends up being. I don't see any of the three coming back. Did we miss something, by the way? Though, isn't like. Wasn't the deadline for Marco to either be a part of the team or not the 30th?
No, Marco has his date to be guaranteed is not to the 7th of July.
7th of July.
We got 4 more days in there.
Got a little bit of time here, but we'll see what this team is going to be, man. Like,
I'll tell you what, if they end up fully guaranteeing Marco, well, he's not on the Summer League roster, which has led a lot of people to think, that means he's off the team. Very rarely will you ever see a third-year player play in Summer League. Yeah. It just does not happen very often.
Remember that 1 year J.R. Smith did?
Bro, that's crazy.
Bro, J.R. Smith was like 6 years in the league and just played in summer league. And
That's funny. Was he coming back from injury or something?
I don't know what he was doing, bro. I just remember like, why is J.R. Smith playing? And he was just dominating all these players who weren't supposed to be in the league.
That is hilarious, actually. But yeah, so we'll see. Because I mean, at the end of the day, Marco's a $1.8 million contract, and with the Bulls now have the disabled player exception, they could look at Marco and say, "Listen, because they still got a 15-man roster now. Lonzo still is taking up one of those spots, but like they gotta figure something out there, bro." So.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I wouldn't guarantee Marcos. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate that contract. I hate that contract. It's not even because of Marco at this point. It's literally just because you're not gonna play
the man.
You're not gonna play him. So if you're not gonna play him, why is he taking up a roster spot of somebody you could play?
Are we gonna hear that AK hemmed up Billy Donovan like Pax did Vinny Del Negro? Is that what we're gonna hear?
Like when Vinny Del Negro grabbed Pax, wasn't it? Is that why Vinny got fired?
No, I think Pax grabbed him first, and Vinny. My memory is correct. It's been
they both be
20
fighting
years ago, bro. I have no idea.
They both be fighting. That's all that matters. That's hilarious though, dog. I ain't gonna lie to you. That mess is funny, bro. J.R. Smith played in summer league in 2010. He had already been in the league 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
That's crazy. That's wild.
I don't even know why he played. Like maybe he was just bored. He's like, I ran out of Henny, so I'm gonna play this year. Bro.
It's either this or I'm gonna get in trouble for the league's marijuana policy. Like it's one of the two.
And this the thing. I'm looking at the highlights now. He's just cooking dudes. Like they shouldn't be on the court with him.
He shouldn't be there, bro. There's no reason for him to be there. That's crazy, bro.
Oh man. Hey man. End of the day, Bulls got better. Is it leaps and bounds better? No. But did they get? To me, the Bulls got better.
Yeah, the Bulls got better, and we're going to see how that continues with the Chicago Bulls. We'll be right here locked in every single day, telling you guys what's going on with the team. But hey, that's it for us for today. Passing this home, brother.
Hey man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love. Oh, and by the way, if Elon does end up just destroying Twitter, and this whole spill thing takes off, you can also follow me over there at Pat the Designer
Spill
as well. That is the new app that Black Twitter is just flocking to.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go check that out.
It's pretty lit over there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm new, so I ain't got a ton of stuff going, but it's fun. It's an exclusive club.
All right. Well, let me make sure you know there's no Jalen Green stuff going on over there. But you guys can follow me. You guys can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO HAIZE. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. Me and Pat will be back tomorrow, hopefully breaking down some more moves that the Chicago Bulls have made. Let's keep the hope alive. Before Pat, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls, man. We out, y'all.
Peace. You almost made it. The Tony brothers had to come check you up at the end.